Well, state Democratic lawmakers in Minnesota have blocked an effort to investigate further and impeach Governor Tim Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison. A resolution taken up by the Minnesota House Rules and Legislative Administration Committee to launch an impeachment investigation that was defeated by all 8 Democrats on the committee. They voted against it.
This comes as Walz and Ellison have been accused of neglecting the alleged fraud in their state. It even led to both of them testifying before the House Oversight Committee on the fraud investigation. Kristin Robbins is a Minnesota state representative and Minnesota gubernatorial candidate. I wanted to ask you, are you disappointed of the results of this vote? I think taxpayers are wondering, who's going to be responsible for this? I think it's like $19 billion now in fraud that they're worried about that's gone missing.
Yes, taxpayers have had it. They are fed up. The buck stops with Tim Walz, and he failed to hold any of his agencies or commissioners accountable. So ultimately, the taxpayers want Tim Walz held accountable. All of this happened on his watch, and the only avenue that the legislature has is impeachment. We're not law enforcement. We can't arrest him. So impeachment is the avenue to hold the governor accountable for malfeasance, for turning a blind eye, and for all the billions stolen on his watch.
Let me go to CC03 control. So obviously, if you're talking about impeachment of the governor, in his mind, perhaps maybe he's thinking, look, I already said I'm not running for re-election, but he also, so that should have been his consequence, if you will. Obviously, lawmakers don't feel that way. So he went out and put this post saying, I would just encourage those legislators to get out of the basement of the Capitol where they are putting on a little play. They know, and I know, it's more likely the sun will rise in the west than that will happen and go anywhere. Your reaction to the statement by the governor?
It's outrageous. The hubris, the arrogance. He has stolen, allowed to be stolen, I should say, billions of our taxpayer dollars. And rather than take accountability, take responsibility, and admit what he has allowed to happen, he just mocks the legislature for trying to do their job. It's outrageous.
Yeah, it's insulting to suggest it's a play. One of the things that I always looked at was we talked about he decided not to run for re-election. Well, his polling was terrible. I think it was like December. It was almost 70% of the residents in your state said that he did a terrible job addressing this fraud. But you mentioned the accountability would be arrests, some sort of accountability in that aspect. With Ellison, not on board there, is it really up to the Trump administration? Is it really up to the DOJ to do something?
Yes, and I believe the DOJ is looking at all avenues of this. So I have faith in the DOJ to get to the bottom of this. But our role as legislators, our only avenue for accountability is impeachment. So that's what we've been trying. We tried to do this week. I've certainly continued to have fraud hearings. We are holding all of his agencies accountable every week in the fraud committee, bringing them before us, trying to get also not only the accountability, but actual legislation passed to create future accountability, an independent Office of Inspector General that has law enforcement powers within the executive branch so that this never happens again under any future governor. We have other bills that we're working on to tighten up internal controls and bring accountability. And we need to get those through. And the Democrats have stood in our way time and time again. They say they want to address fraud, but they block all the Office of Inspector General. They blocked impeachment. They are not actually helping us get accountability that the state is demanding.
And one of the questions I have about accountability would be, how many whistleblowers I think does it take? How many years of whistleblowers coming forward before something is done? I mean, we know it dated back, to 2016 possibly?
Yes, we've had years of whistleblower reports, years of reports from our Office of Legislative Auditor, and the public is fed up. We have to have accountability. We have to stop the fraud, and we have to make sure these programs are running so that they're effective. If there aren't effective programs, we just need to cut them. We shouldn't be throwing good money after bad in Minnesota for programs that aren't working to help people.
Is impeachment the proper tool, would you say? Is there high crimes and misdemeanors? And if you had to prove that, wouldn't you need the Attorney General? There's somewhat of a little ironic moment there, because wouldn't you need the state's Attorney General to be able to look into any potential crimes that the governor may or may not have committed, yet he could be guilty of potential crimes as well? That's been alleged.
Well, the Attorney General should have been prosecuting a lot of these fraud cases.
Yeah.
He has the legal authority under the federal law for the Medicaid Fraud Control Unit, and I don't think they've done nearly enough prosecutions of the actual fraud and the provider side fraud. On the impeachment process, the impeachment is the investigation that would happen in the House. It would come to the Fraud Committee, where we have the only Republican majority committee in the entire legislature. So it would pass out of the House Fraud Committee. But then it goes to the Senate for the trial, and the Senate is controlled by Democrats by one vote. So the Attorney General doesn't really have a role in the impeachment process. It's a legislative process.
Right. Yes. No. Just the fact that nothing of any potential crime has been brought forward by the Attorney General, at least at this point, but holding him accountable to fraud. It's unfortunate because it seems partisan when it really shouldn't be when you're dealing with taxpayer money. I want to say thank you to Minnesota State Representative Kristin Robbins. Thank you so much, State Rep. I do appreciate that.
I'm sure that's going to be a #1 issue in that race in Minnesota. If I was a voter, that would be top of my mind. Where's my tax dollars going?
Easy ad campaign there. All right.